Yo, what's up, everybody? What's shaking here on a Monday? It's House Divided on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. Glad to be with you. Like, comment, subscribe to the page. We appreciate all those little clicks that you might make for us. Jump into the Specs chat. The water's warm. Come swimming. Give us some chats, some super chats, your money. We love your money. Doug, was not a super chat, but just a very Merry Christmas. This will be our only real traditional show of the week. Chad's going to get the whole rest of the week off, and we'll have modcast on Thursday and things like that. But yeah, little bit of Christmas joy. No bah humbug, Mr. Hastings.
How about that from the boss man? You know what? I'm thrilled to hear it. I appreciate you for that one. It is going to be a fun week. Obviously Christmas always very cool. And man, what a week for the Longhorns getting ready for yet another playoff game, handling their business against Clemson. We'll talk some portal as well because a big portal name that we've been talking about, Catch, has finally officially chosen his school. He did not pick Texas in the end.
No, and in the end, someone made a crack in the chat earlier about is the update that there's not an update. As for Texas at the moment, it continues to be there is no update. That as of late last week, the Longhorns weren't really actively recruiting anybody in the portal. I haven't seen that that's changed. I think there's an anticipation there will be some guys that will have or soon will play their last playoff games with their teams, and that we'll see an injection of talent into the portal from the players on playoff teams. But I really think what we didn't see a year ago was when the February window ended, it felt like all that was left was the stragglers in the spring. I was like, well, what are you going to find in the spring? Is it even going to be worth getting your hands on? I wonder, because I don't know that we know yet. It's all playing out in real time with the portal, but I wonder if this spring is just going to be bananas. Because if you're Texas, you know right now, if nothing else happens until the spring window at defensive tackle, you know you need at least two. So what does that really mean? How do defensive tackles across the country find out that there are defensive tackle thirsty schools? I don't know. Like, it just happens. It might be magic, but I think there will be teams all over the country that have very specific needs that maybe don't get filled in this first window, and all it will do is make what Dominic Williams did last year in the portal seem like the really smart way of potentially doing business. Wait until the marketplace is completely void of the talent you bring to the table, and then find out how much that talent is worth. And, you know, I don't know that Dominic Williams ever got his $1 million, but he probably got way more money than he would have otherwise been able to pick up had he played his cards differently. I think we may see that much more widely spread than we did a year ago. And we'll see what that looks like. Because I think that, you know, the dust hasn't cleared yet, but I think all of the teams that have dipped their toes into the portal would have, I think, hoped that there would be more available than what's been available. And does that mean that more will be available in the spring? If you're Texas and some of these schools that really want to do some shopping in the portal, the answer has to be yes, but there are no guarantees.
Well, and there's, again, two things I think at play, Catch, I keep thinking of. One, we've talked about it plenty. This portal is just very different from last year's portal with all the coaching changes and stuff. But also realize with the expanded playoff, we may be looking at a real quick 5-day window on a lot of different stuff. Everybody that's in a CFP game or in a later bowl game. Keep all that in mind too, not just the CFP teams. You get 5 days from right when you're done for guys to get into the portal. And I'll keep pointing out, Catch, that includes teams like, for instance, Bama, Michigan, and Ole Miss, just to name three, that we would all agree have talent and that have later bowl games. Those last three have a bowl game like the second or third. Nobody will care about it. But 5 days after it's over, 5 days after the loser's done in those, Actually 5 days after the game, winner or loser. What am I thinking about? Because they're not in the playoff. What up, T-Town? Anyway, then you've got that 5-day period of getting into the portal. So I think that's a part to remember as well. I think all the big dogs are also waiting on all those little windows that are coming.
No, there's no doubt about it. And, I think that it's a hell of a thing to be in the belly of something as it's unfolding. To guess what the carnage looks like when the carnage creation isn't done being created is a bit tricky. All you can do right now is, and I went position by position. There's just no question that the talent this year in the portal is wildly different than what was available. And there are many reasons. Like you brought up a few of them just a couple of moments ago, talking about just the fact that we haven't had the massive program changing and turnover, creating departures and maybe we will, and maybe that is something that still has to happen, but it can't be overstated what Alabama opening up, what it ended up meaning for, the portal as a whole. So
that, and then with the talent that had been collected in a brief period, that Jimbo Fisher was out early, ended up mattering too.
And look, real quick, let's stop at the portal for a second. Although Eric Singleton, Auburn, no shocker. You probably should put a ribbon and bow on that and announce when it is officially done. Well, Auburn is thought to have been the favorite for about a week. And really, ever since that Texas visit was completed, it felt like, watch out for Auburn here.
So Jackson Arnold throwing to Eric Singleton at Auburn. That's going to be a thing.
I mean, Auburn is – I don't know that there's a big winner. It felt like last year we can't – and maybe we're just not at the finish line yet, so it's hard to see who wins the race. But, you've seen LSU, Auburn, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I don't remember if I mentioned LSU or not, but there definitely would be one of those schools that have had nice portal windows where you're like, okay, I can see that. I think they're better. Maybe not. I don't know. Like it's not so much that it's obvious, but it's not like Oregon and Ohio State and Texas have dominated the portal and the rich just get richer. Feels like there's a whole lot of movement in the SEC, that the bottom of SEC rosters are what like churned over the most. But most of those kids have been going to SEC schools. So it's, I don't know. It does not feel like the landscape has shifted so far during the portal based on anything that's happened. And I think that even includes, if the number one player in the portal is the cat that's going to Oklahoma to play quarterback, and that was a guy that he was pretty good this season, but even in the season finale against Wyoming at home, not quite 200 yards passing. Yeah. They lose 15-14 or something like that. It's not to say the guy can't play, but it's not. We haven't watched the seismic shifts, I think, take place. Even a year ago when a guy like Dylan Gabriel left Oklahoma to go to Oregon, when that happened, it felt like, well, that probably means Oregon's really good next year. So that probably has an impact on the national championship race. I don't know that I've seen a whole lot happen yet in the portal that makes me think that definitely impacts the 2025 playoff outlook.
Yeah. Any updates as we sit here on a Monday on Zachariah Branch and his brother? I did not hear anything over the weekend.
Feels like Georgia is a school that is kind of front and center there. You've seen a couple of other guys at the wide receiver position that Georgia was looking at go elsewhere. That makes you wonder if that just the brush is being cleared away for the Branch brothers to go there. Wouldn't completely be a shock. but nothing definitive has happened there yet.
Gotcha. We got a couple of super chats that are already starting to roll in. Jefferson, we'll let you be first today. $5. Cam Scatterboot, Cam Newton, Cam Shaft. By God, the cameraman don't give a damn. Horns by 50. There you go.
This is a game Texas.
Jefferson's ready.
If Texas shows up and plays like they did against Clemson, they'll win this game going away. Here's the thing I can't do. I can't pretend that Arizona State's just okay. That's all they are. They're okay. Are they the best team in the Big 12? I guess. I mean, it kind of depends on the weekend and who's playing whom. Chad, it felt like there were about a half dozen teams in the Big 12 that could have been in this spot. It ends up being Arizona State. I can't now pretend that they're a team that they're not. They're okay. They're pretty good. They're not incapable, but there's no team left in these playoffs that you'd rather play. If we were ranking these teams 1 through 8, Texas is getting the team that everybody wishes they could be playing this weekend in Arizona State. So if Texas shows up in a week and a half on January 1st and just plays their game, I mean, they're going to beat Arizona State. To me, it's just as simple as that.
Yeah, and shockingly, the other team you'd want to play is Boise. And who are they playing? Penn State. Has anybody looked at the Vegas lines yet? 10, 12, 14 for 2 of the games, and then the other 2 are at like 2 and 3.
And I don't think the Arizona State-Texas line is high enough.
I don't either. And if you're a Georgia or an Oregon fan, like you've been saying, it's just man, what in the world is going on? But we'll continue to say it. Texas and Penn State are getting an opportunity to take advantage of this path. Should get each of them to the semis. We'll see if it does. For me, Ketch, there's 8 left, and 5 can win it all. 3 cannot win it all. There's 5 teams that can win a title as far as I'm concerned right now. I think 2 of the ones that can't. You just got to guess the third.
You think how many teams can win it all?
5 out of the 8. 5 out of the 8 can win the title.
Well, you don't think Arizona State can? You don't think Boise can?
Nope.
God, it could be a trick question because I don't know how Georgia wins.
Just know it's me.
Straight with their.
Just know it's me. And when it comes to trust and me, who do I not trust?
Well, look, there's a bunch of guys I almost don't trust anybody left standing.
Now, there's 2 coaches left that I don't trust in big moments, but there's one I don't trust more than the other. What's his name? You know his name.
No,
That's the other one. Penn State cannot win the title as far as I'm concerned. They can't. I don't trust him. Just because the football gods didn't punish him for 14-0 up, going for it on his own 20. They'll remember it, James. They'll remember it. Your team's not winning the title. You heard it here first.
So what is Notre Dame and Georgia this weekend?
Oh, my God. Just hot buttered popcorn if you love football. That is such a great blocking and tackling man's game. I don't know who wins it, honestly. The winner might have 12, 13. I mean, I think it could be a bar fight waiting to happen. But I think enough of Notre Dame to say, I honestly think they could do it. I do. Do I think they will? No, but I would not be shocked if they beat Georgia. And who else would be in that side? And I certainly wouldn't be shocked if they beat Penn State. And if they played Boise, they'd thrash Boise. So that team with their run game and that D, and if the quarterback plays well, they're a factor to me.
I just don't know how suddenly having the worst quarterback situation in the playoffs is a good thing if you're Georgia.
That's fair.
That we'll do this thing that we saw Carson Beck play at such low levels at various times this season that it was anybody can play quarterback at Georgia. There is a little bit of that that just kind of exists in general. We watched Greg. It started when we saw Greg McElroy win a national championship at Alabama, and it was like, wow, you really can almost play with anybody that just doesn't get you beat. And that can be enough on some of these teams.
Right. And that's where I'll give Georgia the love because of that defense catch. It's not what last year when Florida State lost that quarterback, they lost a ton. Yeah. I don't think Georgia loses near as much. Georgia can still just put you in a box, nail it shut, and you'll never get out of it. They can do that with or without Carson Beck. Hell, they did it with a bad Carson Beck at times. Like, he gave them performances that you're not proud of at all if you're a Georgia fan. They still found a way to win those games.
But you know what? I think it could get worse. That wrong game, wrong opponent, wrong situation. They have the opposite of a guarantee on the box at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what the point total is this weekend. What is the safe point total in that Notre Dame Georgia game to win?
The absolute safest would be like, I think if you get to 20, I think you absolutely win that game.
You would think so, right?
Yeah, I would think 20 makes you a safe win.
But the thing is, like 14 could be safe when it's all said and done.
That's a head cracker, man. It's going to be so good. Those two helmets getting together, neutral site, Big Easy, those two fan bases showing up down there. That's going to be something, man. On New Year's Day, come on. That's just great.
Well, and I really don't know what to think of Ohio State. Are we in the safe zone?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Safe zone.
I thought when Ohio State and Oregon first played, I thought Ohio State, for me to eyeball for the first 2.5 quarters, I was like, oh, this is just Ohio State's just better than Oregon. And then Oregon ends up winning the game. And so, to the victor go the spoils, the way we remember the game is kind of the way the winners always get to write the headlines and kind of the narratives. But I don't know. The first time I watched these two teams play each other, I thought my eyeballs told me that Ohio State was better. And Oregon ended up winning the game, and I give them a ton of respect for doing it. And maybe it's an it factor that I can't quantify when I just look at the two teams. But Ohio State looked so good last weekend. I have no idea what I'm supposed to think of those two teams in a rematch.
Which is great. Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm with you on everything you just said, because deep down, I think Ohio State is better. But it's so cool to me that, like, one of these days I'll think of Oregon as a Big Ten school. I love that we'll have like a classic feel Rose Bowl, right? Yeah. It's a Big Ten versus a Pac-10, like when we were kids. But so to me, it's like, I get that Oregon will be frustrated with this setup, but I would tell them you're probably gonna have to deal with them at some point. I don't know that you can work your way through this whole thing and not have to deal with the Buckeyes. So you might as well go ahead and deal with it. Just, here you go. Massive rest. They will not have gotten 24, 25 days of rest, but you will. So go take advantage of it. It's the best shot you're going to get at them to do it right now. You get more rest. They've had a little less, and they'll get whatever it is, 10 days. You've had over 3 weeks. Hell of a game.
I have no idea who I will actually pick to win that game. Let me ask you this. Do we trust one of those quarterbacks more than the other? Like, ultimately, biggest of the big games, does Will Howard and or
Gabriel?
Thank you, Dylan Gabriel. Like, absolutely no with either one of those guys?
Does it sound like a cop-out if I say I trust Gabriel more, but I think I might trust Ohio State's just nastiness more? That if Will Howard can kind of stay out of its way, if the dump truck that hit the other day, that hit Tennessee, can hit Oregon, Ohio State might win by 2 touchdowns. If Travion Henderson's going to do that, and they're just going to be that physical catch, I'm not sure if Oregon can deal with it.
Well, and I know whose weapons I would rather have, with all due respect to Evan Stewart. And it's not like Oregon doesn't have weapons, but right. Ohio State has probably the nation's best weapons. So then it's like, well, which quarterback do I trust? I don't know. Do I get the Smith kid? He comes with who, if I have to take Ohio State, he gets to go with him, right? And it's like, no, he gets to play with that guy. And they've got like 3 guys that you go, they could be that guy. Yeah. 2 of them you really feel that way about. So
honestly, Catch, it turns out, to me, it almost feels like a Ewers Klubnik thing. If you said to me, I'm going to put them both out there, Chad, by themselves on air, we're just going to look at quarterback stuff. Who's the better quarterback? I'm going to give you one answer. But if you say who's got the better weapons and who's got the best team and who's going to win this game, I think I might go the other way. Right now, I'd say Howard and Ohio State win that game.
You know, in the end, I don't know that Texas had the better weapons over Clemson. That maybe the thing that we underrated a little bit in that game was, you know, the best quarterback, at least, I don't know, like everybody came out of that game. It was like Quinn played really well.
Well, yeah, they both played good, man. They both looked good.
But one guy was asked to do a lot, and the other guy was like, oh, I got a 300-yard rushing attack behind me, so it's all good.
Yep. That's it. It was impressive stuff. We got some super chats to get to. We'll also be thanking our great partners throughout the day since it's our last full show before Christmas. Real quick, Catch. I know you'll like this. Richard threw in the chat, go to Rogue Shop. They got nice flour. And immediately Rogue Shop chimed in with, hell yeah, we do. Have you got did you ever get your Rogue Shop calendar, by the way?
I need to go check the mailbox. Not as of this week. Not coming into the weekend.
Okay. All right.
But we thought it's supposed to be in the mail.
I got you. Make sure you make Rogue a little part of the.
Don't worry, I'm going to catch up fast.
I was going to say you got some plans. You get some New Year's plans for Rogue or whatever. Rogue has been with us here at Orange Bloods Live since like day one and before, right? They've been with Orange Bloods before even Orange Bloods Live started, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. No, I mean, you scan that QR code. It's still the Christmas gift to give. If you can get it fast enough, yeah, man, there's no better Christmas gift on the planet, especially if you want to give it to yourself or just somebody in your family. I'll never forget the one time a buddy of mine accidentally got his mom accidentally ate some of his cookies. Right. It got really stoned. So then she got mad at him until she started telling her friends about how she ate all her son's stoner cookies. And then they just laughed at her and were like, hey, can we get some of the cookies too? And then suddenly you're the most popular mom on the planet. That's what Rogue Shop can do. They got the stuff, the gifts, that if you start giving it, it'll make you the most popular person on the street, in the family, whatever the case may be.
It'll take you from pissed off to cool mom like that. Just boom. Shout out to Rogue Shop.
Now every year it's like, can we get some of those edibles? As opposed to, I can't believe you almost killed me with edibles. And it was like, hey, every year, can you make a whole bunch of edibles for me? Yes, it can be just like that.
It's a good deal. Big money right now. I see is Paul with a $19.99 super chat. Thank you, Paul. It's got parts to it. 1, ASU thrives on momentum and emotion. Get up quickly, and they are done. 2, buy or sell. If Saban were coach, same record this year, Bama is in the playoffs. 3, prime on prime, Adriana Lima hotter than Heidi Klum. 4, happy Festivus. Thank you, Paul. There's a lot going on there.
Okay, so let's leave that up so that one by one we can attack it.
All right. Well, you pick. Which one you want to hit first?
Well, I think just number 1, ASU thrives on momentum and emotion. You know what they say that about? Teams that are just okay. You know what I mean? What you're saying is, when they play at their absolute best, that's when they thrive.
Yeah. The other thing I would say, Paul, I'd make it a little more complex than that. In looking up Arizona State stuff, I think they thrive on turnovers. They do thrive momentum, emotions in their 4 big wins when they beat a ranked team, +8 in the turnover margin. And in 3 of the 4, Scattaboo goes 158, 147, and 170. You got to keep him contained. In their 2 losses, he had 60 yards and 75 yards. They lost at Tech. I'm going to say that again. They lost at Tech. They also lost at Cincinnati. So, they thrive on some things. You just contain Scatterboo.
If they're not creating turnovers and winning that usually in bunches, they're very, very beatable. This is a pretty good. This team's okay.
Yeah, it's even more important, I think, than the Clemson game. Catch, we talked about it last week. Clemson thrives off those turnovers as well. I think Arizona State needs it even more.
Oh yeah, because they're not as good.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
They're not. Clemson on some level thought, whether they were right or wrong, and they ended up being wrong, but they thought, okay, our defensive front, we just got to whip their offensive front. And if we do that, we win the game. And they thought like that was the plan.
Right.
And it wasn't like, can we do that? They thought, well, that's our pathway. I don't think Arizona State is thinking to themselves, man for man, we'll line up and if we just whip these guys, we'll win the game. I think Arizona State knows we've got to create turnovers. We've got to, find ways to mitigate the distance between these two teams.
Yeah, and Texas has a chance to do what these other two teams did, which is suck the life out of Arizona State. Tech had 34 minutes of time of possession and one rushing by a good amount. The rushing was even in the Cincinnati game, but Cincinnati had 35 minutes of time of possession. If Texas wants to try to win that way, Arizona State's been beaten that way.
Yeah.
You want to take your run game and just sledgehammer them all day, keep the ball away from Scatterboo, you can do it that way. And a couple teams have gotten double-digit, one single-digit, one double-digit win that way.
Paul is saying if Saban were the coach and they had the same record, Bama would be in instead of out because of the Nick Saban voodoo curse on the committee.
I say sell.
I agree.
I say sell, and Saban would be man enough to stand in front of a podium and say, we did not do enough. But I also believe, Paul, to your point, if Saban were the coach, they would have never lost in Norman. No chance. There's no way. Saban would never have taken Jalen Milroe and a bunch of dudes with numbers on their helmets to Norman, Oklahoma, and lost by 3 touchdowns. There's no way. So the record would not have been the same, would be my response. They'd have been 10-2, and they would have been in the playoff. And
look, Saban is saying, if we're going to revise history, you're not saddling me with Vandy either.
Vandy's okay. And that's me even saying that, okay, the Vandy thing maybe could happen.
Saban is like, no way I'm losing to Vanderbilt.
I'm just going to be safe and say he ain't losing both. It ain't happening. That is not happening at all.
Adriana Lima, Heidi Klum, prime on prime, all-time hottest.
Boy, they're both incredible. I think I'm buying.
I'll buy, but it's a coin flipper. I could just as easily be happy with the Heidi Klum decision.
Oh, but they're both amazing. You're talking about, that's world-class stuff there. Paul, well done. Well played. Texas and Arizona State on New Year's Day at high noon. Couple other super chats. $4.99 from Dirkley. Is there any Texas players that went into the portal that are still playing backup for Texas? There are. I don't know if anybody played against Clemson, but aren't there guys, Catch, that are at least suited up that are still hanging around?
Yeah, I think Justice Finkley's still hanging around.
Finkley did that, and there's another one of those linemen that did it, right? Savea did it. Didn't Savea do it?
I mean, I'm not really keeping track of these guys.
Yeah, right. I think there's a couple D linemen, Dirkley, is the answer to your question. There are a couple guys that are doing it. And then S. Roan with this last one of the batch here, $5. Hey, Arizona State has won the same amount of Big 12 championships as A&M did. Carry the yeah, I guess you're right. Yes, you're right, Esron. Hadn't thought of it that way. All right. Thank you for those super chats. That is the first batch that I see. Wait a minute. Hold on.
The thing is, Texas didn't have that many. Like, come on.
Yeah. I fear no man named Scatterboo. Horns by 100. Hooked. No reason to fear him unless you can't tackle him. If you can't tackle him, then he's big trouble. Remember, he's not only their running back, he's their second leading receiver. They'll throw it to him a ton. When they're successful,
they're gonna obliterate this team. I'm sorry, I can't fake it. I cannot fake it.
He's freaky when they're good. He needs to have
Is he freaky?
He needs to have like one. I'm saying in like the stat sheet. The stat sheet gets a little freaky. He'll be like 150 on the ground, and then he catches 4 or 5 balls too, and it's for a lot of yards. That's when Arizona State is rolling. When number 4 is just everywhere. And for what he does, yeah, I think there's a freakiness to it. Is it like, Randy Moss fast twitch freaky? Well, no, it's a different kind of freaky. You said it. You had a great comp earlier. He's like the evolution of John Riggins. If John Riggins had a little less physical and a little more athletic and could catch, and they would throw to him a lot more. That's kind of who this dude is. That's kind of who he is.
Texas is going to have to play really poorly to lose this game.
I would agree. They're going to be messy. They're going to have to mess it up.
You just going to have to, at the end of it, it's got to look like one of those Tony Romo Cowboy games. It's like, what do you mean they turned the ball over 4 times in the first 19 minutes? It's like, right. It's one of those.
And if you mention that period, it's a good guy to bring up when I think about Quinn last game, because there were games where Romo would throw 40 balls. You and I would do the same thing, I'm sure, as Cowboy fans. The moment Tony Romo threw his 40th pass, you knew things were going badly because you just didn't want it to get that high. Last week, I watched Quinn throw 24 balls, and you talked about it in the post game, and you made a great point about it. I could have seen that number at like 36. They gave themselves some leeway there. Quinn could have thrown more balls. I'd have told Sark, like, you know what? I get the running game is clicking. Go ahead and let 3 throw a few more. That's sort of the vibe I had. So Quinn does not need to throw 40-45 against Arizona State because I think they can churn them up on the ground. But I think it can get into like that 30-35 to 38 kind of area for attempts with Quinn, and they can really put it on the Sun Devils.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have been okay with 30 on Saturday. That, I just wanted to see on a day when everybody kind of agrees Quinn was playing really well. First half, he was really, really good. So on a day when he's feeling himself a little bit, you'd like to just have seen him, I think, have a little bit more success to go into the next game feeling like, oh man, he kind of caught fire a little bit on Saturday. Are we in the middle of a Quinn heater? I don't know that we'd completely come away from Saturday saying that, because the texture of the game, like you said, he only threw it 24 times.
Yeah.
And it didn't have, and it wasn't like 24 throws, but 4 touchdown passes. And, there wasn't really the signature plays where it was like, oh my God, he was incredible. It was like, no, he was really good. And,
but when you have that success with those running touchdowns, that's going to take away from those opportunities. They didn't need to have all the clever, like red zone stuff when you get a 77-yard touchdown, when you get the other.
That counts the same when they go from really far away.
Yeah, right. And then you get that other big run around the right side. That would have been Wisner's, right? Wisner, the one that cut the cutback run on the right side. And then, of course, Blue had the 77-yarder, and then Blue has another one. I mean, yeah, that takes away from some of Quinn's opportunity there. But I'm with you. He could have had a little more. He was healthy. That stood out. And then he wasn't overly sloppy. That's when he gets himself into a little bit of trouble.
I thought the whole performance was fairly crisp. I thought even Clemson getting what they were able to get in the passing game, I didn't think it was because Texas was missing a bunch of guys. They weren't missing tackles. It didn't feel sloppy. It just felt like, oh, Clemson's going to make – okay, Kate Klubnik showed up today, he decided I'm going to make some throws like that, and my guys are going to catch the ball like that. And sometimes, man, you got to tip your cap to the other team and go, oh, okay, they got scholarship. They've got scholarships players too. I thought really was reinforced on Saturday. It was like, oh man, those guys are fun when they're cooking a little bit. And it just so happened that fun was against Texas. And I'm sure Malik Muhammad has had more fun days than that. But yeah, I thought in all that was a performance that if you're Texas against maybe everybody other than Oregon, Ohio State, and Georgia, that'd do just fine. I think you win everybody else that's left, you'd win with what you did against Clemson, except maybe those three teams.
Yeah, I agree. We got another super chat that we will get to. Also, as we continue to thank our great partners here on the last show before Christmas, let's thank TCH Social. They're the ones that had us out for another watch party. Before we mention that next watch party, let's tell you about a tournament going on today. You need something to do on the Monday before Christmas. Everybody's out shopping and you're already done and you're just sitting on the couch. How about a little hijack tournament? Yep. It's this afternoon. We're recording here on a Monday, so it's this afternoon on Monday the 23rd, 5:30. You see the details there. $30 buy-in, 10,000 starting stack. Register online at hijackpoker.com. If you haven't already gone to hijackpoker.com and gotten the app, put onto whatever device you want, get on over there. This is for everybody in the great state of Texas, and this tournament is going on today. Also, don't forget about the watch party on New Year's Day. Let's go running back on running back since you got a scataboo on the other side. The drink specials will start at 11 in the morning. God help us all. $1 draft, $2 jellyfish. And it was a good time to be at TCH Social Austin. Catch, I was watching Sports Center with SVP. I guess it was last night or 2 nights ago. And he says, oh, it was a great day to have multiple screens going. And I just got this big smile on my face because I could look back at myself watching Penn State and SMU while checking out the Texans game. And then it was Texas and Clemson while the Steelers and Ravens were on. We had FCS semifinals going. There was just all this different stuff going on those beautiful screens. So it was a good time at TCH Social Austin. And obviously Texas handles their business. It was great, good stuff.
It'll be a great place to be on January 1st for the exact same reasons. Like just let the football overfloweth on the 1st.
And Jason Sukamel had as good an idea as I've heard. If you're worried about being able to get up and get to TCH Social Austin, they're open 24 hours. I mean, if you just want to, I don't know, come sit at the bar at 10 p.m. on New Year's Eve and just get going, do that. We also have, look at this, politically incorrect cookers. What's up, buddy? $10. Big Alfred and Vern going to eat Scataboo's soul and leave him lying on his back crying. Wow. Horns 42-10. Hook 'em. Catch, you sound pretty confident already on this thing. You like a 42-10? You think it could go to that level?
It could easily go to that level.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't formulated a score yet, but this is a much better team versus kind of an obligatory happy to be here team. Look, we know it's football and that sometimes the great equalizer can be want to and being able to play with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. But, this isn't the stakes of this game make it so that no one is going to show up on Sunday morning and say, we just overlooked that team. That's not what you do at this point. That's not what playoff football is. That's an old bowl system thing where it's like, well, we just didn't want to be there. Arizona State may want to play with a chip on its shoulder, but Texas wants to win a national championship. So to me, it is about quality versus quality. And Texas just a more high quality football team than Arizona State. I think that Arizona State will make it competitive for 15 minutes. But I expect Texas to clearly be the class of this game. I expect them to take an big lead early. I don't expect them to give it up. And I would be really, really surprised if Texas plays at a level that allows Arizona State to be within one score with 5 minutes to go in this game. That means Texas will have really played down to a level, not come anywhere close to its level. I just think there's more inside this Texas team than to allow itself to get into a 12-round banger against a team that they're just better than. That's not who they've really been this season. They haven't always been below everybody out team, but they also haven't been let's keep it unnecessarily close. Even games that were decided by one score, oftentimes it felt like more than that. The Vanderbilt game is probably the prototype of that. Everybody remembers that it ends up being a 7-point game. It was a penalty away from being 17. And The A&M game was a little bit like that. There's another universe there where that's a 31-38 nothing game as opposed to couldn't punch it in the red zone, although that continues to be a little bit of what Texas is dealing with.
Yeah. And obviously, if a kicker
red
hits
zone in third quarters.
Yeah, if a kicker hits a kick, you beat Georgia in one score game.
Yep.
Yeah. So I agree with you. And then, this first round was interesting. 4 definitive wins for these home teams. And I guess the 10-point margin was Penn State, but we know it wasn't that game. SMU was handing out more gifts than Oprah. So that game, but that was a blowout that kind of felt close in the end, but not really.
I felt like SMU, Chad, got beat so badly in that game. Can I be committed to Kevin Jennings? Really? I mean, I guess it's what's the goal? If the goal is go 10-2 and maybe you're back in this exact place, probably, yeah, Kevin Jennings can be your quarterback. But
it was rough. Boy, it was some of the – tell me if you agree, because this is closer to me because the other thing happened to my team. It reminded me of the Nussmeier throws against the Aggies. Like, Jennings let 2 balls go in that game that I thought were as up on the high crimes level as those 2 that Nussmeier threw against the Aggies. Would you agree? Like, was it that bad? Because it felt that bad to me.
Yeah. What I'm saying is it felt like if my goal is to be something beyond that, if for SMU this season was supposed to be a stepping stone towards something else, I don't know if you can do it with that guy as your quarterback. It's not how I felt watching that game on Saturday. It was not good.
No, and the thing, here's what Lashley's got to ask himself too, Catch, to this point. Early on in that game, it wasn't Indiana-Notre Dame to me. Early in Indiana-Notre Dame, you realize, oh, hell, Notre Dame's probably going to block the hell out of this team. And then you had the run and that little thing at the beginning. And then once it was 7-0, you felt like, oh, my God. But the thing about the start of that other game was SMU's right there.
Yep.
They're right there. Their defense is hanging. Aller and Penn State are not going up and down the field. They've got opportunities, and their quarterback is the first 2 touchdowns are pick sixes. And then when you get the chance to make Franklin pay for one of the stupidest play calls of all time, you can't do it. And a dude makes a great play, tip interception, and now you're really sunk. So, I mean, it's a great question for Lashley to be asking himself. He's the offensive dude. Is that the quarterback you want to be making the next big decisions in your program? You're in a conference that clearly you can deal with. You dealt with it in year 1. You got to the title game. You got into the playoff. Now, do you have the guy? Do you have the trigger puller that you want? That's a good question.
I just don't know how you come away from that game feeling like, hey, next year, same time, same channel, let's go. It's like,
yeah,
ooh,
right. We'll snap it to him again.
The same, because I don't know that we want everything to be exactly the same.
Right. Just like if I'm an LSU fan, I might be thinking like, really? Biggest moment next year? Is it him again? Is Nussmeier pulling that trigger for that next big throw? That's a big question too. Here's a super chat that came in from Hooked on the Horns, $5. I want all the smoke. We should bring the 2023 Big 12 trophy to Atlanta just to piss your mark and the rest of the Big 12 off. Come on, Hooked. There's no need for that.
I gotta be honest. One of the things I really like about this team is how business oriented they are. I think they'll show up. They'll be where they need to be. This team's at its best when it's at a neutral site game or when it's on the road. They oftentimes play with their food a little too much at home. But I always feel like they're a lot more under control and imposing whenever they're forced to kind of. I don't worry about Texas at all.
No. Well, the other thing is, the thing I enjoyed about the performance for Texas against Clemson is it ended up being nice and definitive. It wasn't perfect, but it's rarely perfect. But catch, it's 31-17, and they dropped the ball on 4th. Bad throw, and probably one that should be caught. Golden, and viewers could give us those details. But that game had a chance to go to 34-17. That was at the 36-yard line of Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. That was Sark really trying to put the nail in. Could have been 34-17, could have gone to 38-17, and then you've really got some momentum. Clemson answers. Clemson answers, puts a little nervousness in that crowd and brings it to a one-score game. And then what happened? Texas with a huge answer. And then the defense stands up again. By the way, Dabo, Clemson, offensive play callers, genius to go fourth down and short down by the goal line and go basic run up the middle. Clearly worked in College Station for the Aggies. Why not try it for your team? You're just like A&M. Beat up run game. That's not really your strength. Why don't you just run in and see what happens? Oh, it didn't work, did it? Okay. Good stop by Texas, and then they win by 14, close the door. I mean, it was impressive stuff, man. I again, not perfect, but perfect is not what you need to get through a playoff. We all have to remind ourselves of that. And a 14-point win in any of these games, man, that feels important to me. And I thought it was a big finish for Texas.
Yeah, I think it's kind of talked about in the post game. I don't know, just the general buzz was, I don't want to, a little underwhelming, and I didn't feel that way at all, which is strange. I think there were a lot of people who thought they would show up and we would poo-poo the win. And in reality, we wanted to do the opposite. And the general vibe has been kind of, I just think, when you have to win 4, the first one should feel a little, it can't be rushing the field every time you win a game. And so,
right.
And I think it behooves Texas well right now to be one of those programs that's like, we'll celebrate at the end if we get there, as opposed to this win feeling like the biggest win in program history. But you know what? Now you got to go do it again. And then you got to go do it again. If that's the task that remains to be seen, just whether or not anybody's up to do that or not. But I like the fact that the mentality, Sark's got a real grown-up professional type team. Getting up for games, and we think they got to play better coming out of halftime. But for the most part, it's a real grown-up, responsible, shows up every week and kind of does a job to a certain extent. I think that, he's got a playoff type team. Nobody wants to play Texas. That's, if you were to reverse engineer this, I think that there are 3 teams you just don't want to play. You don't want to play Texas, Oregon, or Ohio State. Now, all things being equal, Georgia could be on that list as well. But come on, they got their backup quarterback playing. Like, that is Georgia as wet and softened up as they can possibly be. And then Notre Dame is Notre Dame and Penn State is Penn State. And so I really think that, there's 3 teams. Texas is in that cluster that coming out of this weekend. It's like, oh, man, rather not play them if you didn't have to. At some point, you probably will. If you're Oregon, you may have to play all of them.
And the way we see this bracket too, because of the Beck injury, and we'll just see what Georgia looks like with Stockton with full prep. But it feels like, we may get to one of those semifinal situations where one side feels like a championship semifinal, where if it's Texas versus Oregon or Texas versus Ohio State, that feels like, okay, whoever wins that one, you're playing a slight, whatever the depleted version of Georgia looks like with Stockton, if that's true. Or are you playing Notre Dame?
Well, that's like the de facto national championship game.
Right. So you'll have that, it'll have that feel to it. And then if whoever that team is, if they can survive the championship game and win it, boy, are you going to get a ton of credit for what you ended up doing. Because we all know how Texas would have started, and we all know how Penn State would have started. We get that. But the way they'll have to finish, there's no way you won't say they didn't earn this thing, because they both will get a little bit of a soft way to start, softer than other teams. But for Texas to have to deal with who they would deal with in the semis, and then maybe in the final,
I don't mean this. I do not mean to. This is not me being like facetious. Is there a team between Ohio State and Oregon that Texas should want to play more than the other? Like push comes to shove, that game comes on. The winner of that game is your next opponent. Texas should be rooting for whom?
My gut says Oregon.
You think if you're Texas, you're a Texas fan, and you're like, who should we pick, Bob?
I don't know. Something tells me Oregon. Something tells me it's Oregon because we saw this like second chance fight back, chip on the shoulder Ohio State, that if that team keeps playing like that, we may end up thinking in the first expanded playoff the same thing we did in the first expanded version, which was so a 4 seed can win a 4-team playoff. Yeah, especially if they look like that. Especially if now look, I'm not saying Ryan Day is Urban Meyer, but they really got things going. I did not think they were going to thrash Tennessee like that. So maybe I'm just overreacting. But that's what my gut would tell me. Texas fans, you tell me if I'm wrong. Here's one right here, Catch. Blake jumped in and said, give me Oregon. Here's another one that says Oregon's defense isn't that good. But then right after that, Corey says, push comes to shove, Ohio State.
I'm telling you,
What do you think? What's your gut tell you?
I think Dylan Gabriel is better than Will Howard.
Jay says nobody's beating Ohio State if Howard plays like he did. I'd agree with that.
You would say that,
Yeah, right. If Quinn plays like he did in Ann Arbor, nobody beats Texas.
Yeah. Like, I think there are levels to that.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to when I watched these two teams play earlier this season. At halftime, I just thought Ohio State was going to walk that game. At halftime, I thought, okay, well, Ohio State's going to win this by like 11 points. They're just better than Oregon, who's hosting this game at home. And
all I hope, Catch. Are you talking about Ohio State, Oregon earlier in the season or against Tennessee?
I'm talking about early in the season.
You're talking about the early game. Okay, I got you. And I was with you there. I thought no matter what I honestly thought Will Howard was going to get down in time and they were going to kick a field goal and get out of that. I really did.
But it's just, I don't think we remember that. I don't think going into this game, anybody's thinking, remember a year ago when Washington and Oregon played each other, Washington won that game, but there was a real sense that they got out of Dodge, that Oregon was actually the better team instead of Washington. And in the end, that ended up being proven not to be true. But I almost feel like there's a little bit of that. At least I thought that. I think coming out of that game, I thought, okay, well, Oregon won that game, but I think Ohio State is actually better. And I don't feel like that's the real national narrative. I don't know that that's a hot take, but I'm a little surprised that more people aren't Ohio State is low-key the better football team.
Jose jumping in with a $4.99 super chat. SMU's pathetic game almost made the ACC irrelevant in the national discussion. Clemson brought the conference back a little due to their game versus Texas.
Not really.
Jose, I'm one of those fans that never looks at it that way. I guess I'm such an NFL fan. I never look at it as, like, just as an example, I don't look at it as, boy, the Chiefs sure showed you what the AFC West has. I never look at it that way, ever. The Chiefs show you what they have. The Eagles show you what they have. I never think of it as you're representing your division. Like, maybe we'll stop doing that in conferences now that we have a real system. Like, the pageant version kind of made you do that stuff, made you chant conference letters, which is kind of dumb. So, no, I think that was a statement on SMU and on Clemson. If you want to make it by extension something about the ACC, fine. But I thought SMU was in trouble, especially if they gave them everything. And I thought Clemson could put up a bit of a fight against Texas, which they kind of did. And I saw what I thought was true. I didn't think it made a statement about the conference. That's just me. But
I mean, I think exactly the same thing about the ACC today as I did a week ago today. So,
yeah,
was SMU's pathetic? I mean, it wasn't good. Like I don't.
Yeah.
But
And it was
I didn't go into that thinking. I didn't go into that game thinking that they were going to beat Penn State.
But it also, to me, it's kind of like, how is it pathetic? It was pathetic in a way, but it was sloppy pathetic. It wasn't they can't block and tackle with Penn State pathetic. That's two different things to me, Jose. If they had just gotten destroyed, like 56-0, and had 2 first downs at the end of the game, then it's like, oh, damn. But that's not what we saw. There was a no-score battle going on, and then Kevin Jennings just turned into, again, Oprah. You get one, and you get one, and oh, that's cool. Y'all put the numbers on your helmet today. White out. Like, that was the pathetic part. But it wasn't like they couldn't hang with them football-wise. They were kind of hanging with them, and then they just gave it away. So, yeah, ACC not, if you want to look at it that way, ACC certainly not flying any flags today. There's no doubt about that. It was not pleasant. House divided one last time before Christmas. We hope everybody's going to have a good Christmas. We will do, I guess, our next technical show a week from today, because Ketch is going to give me the rest of the week off. Then all of Orange Bloods Live is off tomorrow and Wednesday, Christmas on a Wednesday. And then Thursday, you guys are going to hit a Prize Pick show, correct?
Modcast.
Sorry, Modcast Thursday, Prize Picks Friday.
Yes.
There you go. So don't worry, Prize Picks, folks. There will be one chance for you to.
I did all right on Prize Picks this weekend.
I did okay, too. I didn't hit the biggest, craziest one I had because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers forgot to show up. But I did hit something with the Texas and Clemson game, so I was happy about that. Got one. Gunnar Helm's been good to me this year, Catch. Gunnar Helm has been good to me from time to time when it comes to Prize Picks. So I was excited about that. All right, let's continue to thank our great partners around here. We'll take a quick breath, let you hear the AV Consultations holiday spot one more time before Christmas. It'll get you in a good mood. It may even make you want a new TV.
Hi, this is Tom McKay, owner of Audiovisual Consultations, and all of us at Audiovisual would like to wish you and your family a happy holiday season. This time of year can get a little hectic, so we want to remind you to relax, enjoy the season with your family and friends, and give us a call at 512-255-8678 for all of your home entertainment needs. This is my favorite time of the year. I love the holidays, the music, the decorations, the presents, the whole darn thing. So this year I'm asking all you listeners to help make this a special holiday for everyone. Smiles are contagious and free, so let's give them away like the government gives away your money. Let's high-five strangers on the street. Hold the door for people behind us. Tip your servers more than they've ever been tipped before. Give to a charity, or hell, give to a bunch of charities. If someone does a good job, tell them they did a good job. Pat someone on the butt. Sing in public places just because it feels good. And as always, hug your kids until they beg you to stop. Watch some games with your friends and make love to your wife or your husband. I know there's some women listening too. You can still give us a call at 512-255-8678 if you'd like to get some cool electronics, but more importantly, have a great.
All right, rolling through House Divided on this Monday. If you want to give us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. I see over 600 of you in that Specs chat right now. By the way, we did talk a little portal earlier, but we did not do this. More Christmas lights coming. Here we go. Put you in such a happy mood. We mentioned Eric Singleton is no longer a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket. He's going to go wear the Auburn AU. He's going to hang out with Jackson Arnold and see if he can get Hugh Freeze another year at Jordan-Hare. And the other name that flashed across, not name, the other image that flashed across there, Catch, I wanted to ask you about. You got a Jonte Cook update for me? I'm still trying to run the fan club. I'm down to like I got a half a deal of coffee and a couple of stale cookies over here. We're trying to figure out where to move the fan club. Any idea where he's headed?
Well, it looked like Florida might have been the right place, but then they landed a couple of guys that I think have made Florida maybe not the spot. So maybe it's going to end up being Washington. But the market for Cook hasn't been what I think they certainly would have expected when he went into the portal.
Okay, to see what's going on there. Still no home for Jonte Cook, but Eric Singleton, one of the big guys in the portal so far, ends up at Auburn. All right, I'm scanning here. I don't see any new super chats. If you want to throw us a super chat, you can certainly do that. We talked about Texas in the portal earlier. We talked some Texas Clemson earlier. Texas is getting ready for Arizona State on January 1st. It is everything you'd want right now if you are a Texas fan. And yes, Brandon, I like this. Portal combat with the Santa heads. That's exactly right.
Yes.
Portal combat, it just really hasn't fired up the combat part yet. Because, again, I think there's some teams waiting. We got to see how this version plays out. The expanded playoff, the feel of everything. I mean, Catch, I'll be honest. I wanted to be the fan that would tell you, I haven't forgotten about those other bowl games, but I've kind of forgotten about those other bowl games. Like, I had to jot down today.
Is there a game tonight?
Tonight, Catch, one kicked off at 10 this morning that I had to. Yes. Coastal and UTSA kicked off at 10 today, and I had to write it down. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. And coming up in like 30 minutes from when we're speaking right now, Northern Illinois and Fresno State. I've even got the helmets right back. There you go. Northern Illinois and Fresno State are going to play a bowl game. And other than like a couple here and there, like I think I can tell you about when Alabama and Michigan play. I think I can tell you about where Ole Miss.
I can't tell you. I have no idea. Do they actually play this week?
They do. And because A&M plays on the 27th, I can tell you that one. They play late on the 27th in Vegas against USC. But outside of that, I cannot tell you a whole lot. Oh, good grief. Did we get the word in? Hook'em Ace giving us an update. Breaking news. Bevo won't be allowed at the Peach Bowl. Really? Catch, what is going on with Bevo? Can we get like a full assessment of what is happening here? Is this real? Does this really all go back to 2019 and the incident with Uga? Bevo, they feel like Bevo can't be trusted anymore? Has that really happened? I'm sure you don't care, but
I don't. I think probably this is about wokeness in America and it getting in the way of what Bevo represents, which is non-wokeness.
Is that what you think Bevo represents? He's just a big walking non-woke. Okay. Yeah. What if they were allowed? What if they said they would put burnt orange tennis balls on each horn just for safety's sake? Would they let him in then?
You don't need to talk me into it. I'm okay. Let him free Bevo.
Yes, Bevo. I don't understand how Bevo can't come to the freaking Peach Bowl. Come on now, Peach Bowl people. Disappointed in that. All right, and then Arizona State doesn't have anything live they'd have to worry about. So, whatever. I don't think there's just the Sparky mascot. So Sparky and Hook'em and everything can have their fun. All right, if you want to throw a super chat in, we will get to that. Thanks to all of you for supporting Orange Bloods Live all throughout the years. We get closer to Christmas. We got a lot of great partners around here. We'll give them some love. Sinus and Snoring Specialist, one of my favorites. Got me breathing better and sleeping better and feeling better. They can do the same for you. Check them out, 601-0303, sinussnoringent.com. If you're on the hungrier side of things, let's give Travis and Tamara and the crew some love. They got two places that we talk about. Hay City Store, right out there in Driftwood. I showed you the picture the other day, and I'll flash it up here again. Their new expanded. They didn't expand the ice house, but they closed off the back of it there and added more screens. So a little bit of a different vibe back there, but it's going to help them definitely when they get the extreme, get some of those extreme temps. They'll be able to keep that under control better for you. And you got more screens to watch out at Hayes City Store. So check them out in Driftwood. And if you're headed towards Buda, check out Taste on Main in Buda, an incredible spot, great steaks. The drinks are incredible. They've got a brunch every Saturday and Sunday. So check them out as well. I know Travis and Tamara are fired up for this Christmas because they're Longhorn fans. They've got Christmas coming with a New Year's Day kicker of Texas and Arizona State. So shout out to all of our great partners around here with Orange Bloods Live. Let's see. Oh, how about this? This is good. If we can't have Bevo, let us have Bijan in Atlanta. Is that a deal? Mark, that sounds like a good deal. Catch Bijan had a nice weekend, up over 1,000 yards already, and still making moves. That Falcons team, now that the Cowboys did what they did, Falcons are in control to win the NFC South.
Yeah, the Falcons. The Falcons are a fun football team when Kirk Cousins wasn't getting in the way of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
maybe Penix can pull this off, get to the playoffs.
At least you pulled the Band-Aid off, because the worst thing that could happen is that you would end this season a playoff level team, but you think Kirk Cousins is it's the one thing about the Cowboys season that it's one of the things that makes it really frustrating. I kind of know we're not good enough. We're not good enough.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. When Dak's at his best, we're not good enough. And so it's kind of what makes last night so needless. There's no reason to win that game. And I guess I need a therapy session, Chad. Do I just need to be happy about these wins? It's like, hey, 7-8. Yeah.
The thing that would make you, the thing that I would tell you to be happy about, you wouldn't be happy about. And here's why. Because it involves a word you say a lot, but when you say it, you go towards the negative connotation, not the positive connotation. And that word is pride. When you use the word pride, you'll make the reference to Urban Cowboy. And what's our man? Barry Corbin, right? Barry Corbin, Urban Cowboy, pride is one of the 7 deadlies. He doesn't mean that as a compliment, right? He doesn't mean that as a positive. So if I try to preach to you about the pride on an NFL football team of guys that know they're out of the playoffs, but they just go to work and they just try and they just bust their ass. Chris Collinsworth was trying to preach it to you last night, but I'm sure you were rolling your eyes and I'm sure you wanted to break your TV when he was saying it. So I could go down that road, but I know you well enough to know that you think of it the way Corbin thought of it. You don't think of it the way Collinsworth is trying to preach it to you last night. Am I wrong?
The thing is, I, as a sports fan, have intellectually, I know that if I'm an NBA fan, the worst thing I can do is be the fan of a team that's a 7 seed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's just the worst place you can possibly be. You're not bad because you're a playoff team. So you don't want to completely tear it all down, because that's better than being a bad team. But is it? Because it's just being mediocre. Is the mediocreness getting in the way of long-term gain?
Yeah.
Maybe not. The one thing is, if a Cowboys fan said, look, I've enjoyed the last couple of wins, and if that means that instead of a top 10 pick, we pick 18th, but I get to have felt the happiness from those 2 wins. I don't want to begrudge. I can't then turn around and say they're wrong. Mm-hmm. That we have to. I just don't think it matters.
Okay, so let me ask it this way, because let's get to the technicality of what frustrates you and what you would want. Deron Bland and Jordan Lewis made 2 of the craziest plays I've ever seen DBs make last night. Do you ultimately want to tell them to play worse and not intentionally try to win? Or do you want the front office to sit them and other starters to purposefully lose games? What do you want?
I just don't want them to win.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to figure out how to get you to what you want, because to tell NFL players to not try or to try to lose.
I'm not saying I did. I wish they hadn't tried.
That's a tough thing to even think about doing to me.
But what am I supposed to feel from that last night?
Again, what you're supposed to feel is the thing you don't want to feel. That's what I'm telling you. It's not going to work on you. It's not going to work on a lot of fans. Most Cowboy fans that have been a Cowboy fan as long as you have, they don't want to hear that crap. They don't want to hear Chris Collinsworth say, man, look at how much Tolbert was trying there. Like, they don't want that.
I don't want that.
Exactly.
because the thing is, you can't look at it in a vacuum. This isn't, the Dallas Cowboys in 2024. You know what? Give them some credit for showing pride. That's not what the Dallas Cowboys don't get to be viewed in a vacuum of one season. That's not who they are. It's not what they are. It's not what they carry around. And so I know that last night does nothing for either negatively or positively to what it means to be a Cowboys fan. It is as insignificant of a game that has ever been played. There's to what end is that? What are we trying to do? We know that team's not remotely close to being good enough to compete for like a real Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they can't tear it down either because they like some of their players.
At the end of it, I think Cooper Rush said it best on the field when he just said, like, we're a bunch of guys that like to play football. And I just thought, okay. I'm like, Jeff Ketchum's not going to enjoy that.
Well, no, Jerry's not putting that on the stadium either.
There's a piece of art being commissioned right now that says exactly that. We're just a bunch of guys that like to play football.
It reminds me of in Zoolander when they're playing in the with the gasoline tanks.
Oh, geez.
They're just some guys playing football, Chad.
Guys playing. Yep, you're right. Just some dudes playing. Zoolander. I have seen Zoolander. I've seen Zoolander. Sadly, that's a reference I get. If he had gone with something a little more classic, it's not something I would have seen. All right, we'll get a little buy or sell in before we wrap up today. Let's get you a little bit more, especially as we get ready for Christmas. Y'all know I don't mind drinking a little from time to time. If you're out or maybe you need presents, what about Specs? Always a great idea. Here's Lisa for Specs. They sponsor the chat. There's 600 of you in that Specs chat right now. Get over to Specs if you still have some shopping to do.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
Catch, I firmly believe two of the greatest presents you can give someone, assuming you know them and you know what they like, are music and drinks. You show up with a bottle of something or bottles of something, and they know you care. They'll know you care. You're freaking out. Oh my God, I'm going to the party. I don't know. Calm down. Go to Specs. Bring a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of tequila, a bottle of vodka, a sixer of beer, whatever. They're going to love you for it. I promise. Plus, they got cool food and all that stuff at Specs. I somehow never get to the food section at Specs. I don't know why. I just do the drink part and leave usually. I'm leaving all that food for all of y'all. Y'all can go grab the food. They have great food there. I never end up with the food.
I have 5 questions, Chad.
Are they badass?
Man, not really, but they're good. They're okay.
All right.
They're okay.
Fair enough. You want to go first? Are they good enough that you want to go first?
They're good enough to get us started, yes.
Yes. Okay.
I don't know what you were just rambling just then. And I was letting you ramble, and I'm trying to save you now from the rambling.
Oh, you thought that was a Specs ramble. That's what we call salesmanship, Catch. That was a Specs salesmanship.
No, that's what you think it was.
It was a laser-guided, diamond quality Specs spot. That's what that was.
Never tell you. No, I don't ever actually make it to the food section. Somehow, I walk in and get hypnotized by the shiny things with the liquid in them.
That's it. Actually, I did have some food there once. I tried the sample of that, it was whiskey pecan pie. Had alcohol in it. The whiskey pecan pie was good. I would highly recommend that. See, there you go. One more endorsement.
Oh, man.
All right.
They're crawling over each other to get inside the store.
Buy or sell time. What do you got, Catch?
Buy or sell, number 1. Cade Klubnik looked like a future first-round pick in the making at DKR on Saturday.
Yeah, I'll buy that. You've always talked about him being that when he delivers it, that's what it kind of supposed to look like in the NFL. He made big throws. And I think if you're an honest Texas fan, you can go back and watch that game now, knowing you're going to win it, and just look at some of those throws. That stuff down the sideline, I'm not on Muhammad for some of those throws. Klubnik was throwing dimes in a couple situations. He hit some NFL windows, and yes, I think it will creep its way into the first round for him.
Buy or sell number 2. I chose Gladiator 2 over the Cowboys last night. Like, I went to the movie theater and watched Gladiator 2 with the wife. We hadn't seen a movie in a while.
Okay.
And you think I made the right choice. Gladiator 2 over the Cowboys beating the Bucs.
Oh, God. Buy with all capital letters, especially for you, knowing who you are. There's no way. I mean, you could have hated Gladiator 2, but you would have gotten more out of it than what you would get out of that Cowboys game, especially when the Cowboys start off with a lead. That would have pissed you off. The fact that it was close, that would have pissed you off. The fact that they're not playing Lance at quarterback, that always pisses you off. The fact that CeeDee Lamb would play injured, that would piss you off. And then the fact that the Cowboys found a way to keep the Bucs from kicking the late field goal, that's going to piss you off. So there's no way Denzel's performance would piss you off more than that. So it's a buy.
You're more right than wrong, but I wouldn't say like all of that pissed me off.
Okay.
But there was a little bit at 10-0. It was like, oh, come on.
Right.
Come on, Cooper. Come on, Cooper. What are we doing? What is this?
Yeah.
Tolbert's in the back of the end zone.
That's how you know you're a troubled fan when you're saying, oh, come on to your quarterback when he's up 10-0. That's how you know you're in a troubled relationship with your team.
No, I just like turning into my inner Dabo instead of Tyler. It was like, come on, Cooper.
Cooper, really? Really? You turned into the Miz? Really? Like, okay.
I did a little bit. All right.
Yeah.
Buy or sell. By the way, did not like Gladiator 2.
Okay.
Really disappointed. Have you seen it?
I have, yes. So
sometimes just make a movie. Doesn't have to be. Not everything needs to be completely tied back. Just saying.
A little too much nostalgia for you.
Come on.
You know they love nostalgia nowadays, Catch. Gotta have nostalgia. You gotta have nostalgia. Everybody has to be connected to everybody. Everybody got to be related to everybody. We got to have some nostalgia.
I was like, wait a minute. I thought I just had to completely dismiss my beliefs in order to believe this. Now I got to dismiss more beliefs on top of the beliefs. I still don't know why she had to let him go in the first place. It makes no sense. Like, she didn't keep up with him. She just lost him. How?
They could send messages with birds in Game of Thrones. Like, find out they kept up with everything. What are we doing?
No sense. I don't know what happened, Your Highness. We went out. I stopped. I bent over the time. No, because I don't have shoelaces. Because they don't make shoes with shoelaces in this show.
I never thought about it. It really was kind of like 101 Dalmatians if it was people instead of Dalmatians and there was only one of them. I never thought about it before. No, you're right.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
Buy or sell. Excuse me. Number 3. Early snapshot. Ohio State knocks off Oregon.
My early gut would be buy. It's recency bias because they just played, but they really put it on Tennessee. And I think with a second opportunity, as long as Will Howard plays a solid brand, that run game looked really good. If Henderson's staying healthy, yeah, I'm going to root like hell for Oregon, but I think right now I'd pick Ohio State.
Buy or sell number 4. I'm sure you know this, but our guy, Trey Wisner, 27 yards away from 1,000. You knew that, right?
I believe you're right.
But did you know this? Jaden Blue is only 290 yards away from 1,000. You think he gets within 100 of that by the time Texas's season is over?
Okay, he needs one, so he'll need one to get to that. I'm going to buy. I really enjoyed that impact in the game. I do think they'll be able to effectively run against Arizona State. I think it's going to be another game where Sark wants to show off the full array, and because there was no, F word, I think there's going to be some trust there to put 23 back in the game plan even more. So I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy that he gets within 100.
It's crazy to think there is a world where he does get there.
Don't y'all ever doubt that Sark thing. It looks like that Sark stat's going to come back anyway. Like, no matter what else happens, it's just like, hey, Sark and 1,000-yard bat. Just stamp it.
It would be funny if in the end they had two. It's just for no other reason than the irony of it all. Okay.
Yeah. Sark could say, he wants to start a new string of two guys, two with 1,000 every year.
Don't you guys ever doubt me, or I'll do 3 next time.
That's right.
Buy or sell. It bothers you to know just how much Washington fans get to enjoy Jaden Daniels as their quarterback for the next decade. Like, just knowing that they get to enjoy that bothers you.
Buy. The only thing you did wrong there is you should have capitalized every word in bothers and you. Buy, capital buy. We talked about this weeks ago, not just because of the Hail Mary thing, but you could feel it. Just like I could feel it with CJ Stroud and Houston and how substantive that team felt. Same thing with Washington. They feel real. It feels like a substantive football team. Feels like they're making like football moves to do football things in a football world. And now I got to watch that. I got to watch that guy this fast beat that Eagles team at home. They get to go crazy. DC goes nuts. Thank you, Washington. Good night. Yeah, that's going to be a fun 10 years, isn't it, Cowboys fans? Woohoo! Here we go. Brother. Hope you got what you wanted out of that one.
I did not. Actually, that was not what I was going for. I immediately regret that decision right about the time your Dax, here we go.
In fact, it's now a weird competition I didn't expect, Catch. Which team do I hate to admit I like more, Houston or Washington? That's the contest in my brain now. Like, it's so frustrating as you watch these two things from a Cowboys fan perspective. Your team is spinning their wheels at the absolute best. That's almost an insult to the phrase spinning your wheels. But at the absolute best, your wheels are just spinning and you're not moving.
What are we supposed to do this next offseason?
But what Washington and Houston are doing right now, it makes me ill as a Cowboys fan to think about it. Because I can't guarantee you they're going to go win Super Bowls, Catch. That's not what I'm saying. But damn it, if I was a fan of one of those teams, I'd be so excited for whatever's about to happen. That's my guy. That's my quarterback. My team feels real. Let's go.
Uncle, I'm sorry. I am sorry.
Damn it. I know. I'm sorry.
Ask some questions because you're depressing me.
I know. It's my fault. I went down the road. You just gave me a slight intro. I just knocked the door down and kept going. That's my bad. All right, Catch, let's start here. Buy or sell number 1. Other than Quinn, the best sign for Texas on Saturday was Jaden Blue.
Buy. Yeah, that's such a different dynamic inside the offense to have him going. And he looked like a guy that you had to have the ball in his hands. That's what they're at. They can't be their best version of themselves without him at least showing flashes of that. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, it feels like that's back on the table when it felt like breadcrumbs were maybe all you could expect for him to have inside this offense. Now maybe there's a little bit more, and I think it's needed.
It's going to be interesting when Arizona State sees that on film. Jaden Blue showing up like that in a playoff game. Catch, buy or sell number 2. The most dangerous team you saw in round 1 was Ohio State.
Probably a buy. We got a chance to really see their explosiveness in the passing attack, that when their skill guys are playing at a really high level, They can make a really good defense like Tennessee just look completely out of – it looked like that Tennessee didn't belong in that game. One side of that ball of that team did, and Ohio State kind of made it look like they didn't. I think that speaks a lot to how well Ohio State played. They're very similar to Georgia. Their apex is national championship level good. When they're at their best, they are the best team typically when they're playing at that level. It's, do you get that? Do we see that from them once in the next potentially 3 straight weeks? At some point it feels like there would be a blip because that's kind of how Ohio State's been defined for much of this season. So, you can't get too crazy about it, but I thought they were sensational on Saturday night.
All right, just for the record, Catch, buy or sell number 3. You were rooting for Baker and the Bucs to beat the Cowboys.
Sell. That fell into the category of games where it was like, okay, well, if it means that Baker Mayfield takes a loss, then cool.
You can live with that.
I could live with that, yes.
Okay, just checking. Just wanted to make sure. Buy or sell number 4. Let's hit a quick birthday because Eddie Vedder is 60 today, kids. Prime on Prime grunge show in Seattle. You'd rather see Pearl Jam than Nirvana.
So.
You're going to see Kurt and the boys, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Prime on Prime, yeah.
Prime on Prime. It's raining outside. You're inside. Grunge is happening.
I want to see Nirvana in that instance.
Flannel everywhere. I think you might be right on that one. I will say, though, after having seen Pearl Jam this last year, Eddie Vedder is such a monster rock star. I was impressed. I'm not the biggest fan of Pearl Jam ever, but boy, it was a great show. And Eddie Vedder's an absolute badass. Happy birthday to Eddie today. Finally, Catch, buy or sell number 5. You'll take Buffalo and Detroit over any other Super Bowl combo. You want the field or you want those two?
I think I would take the field.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm getting Kansas City in the field.
Yep.
And I just can't pretend. We can't just pretend like they might get to the playoffs and just not lose. And we may not call it the best version of Kansas City under that quarterback and that coach, but it still might be good enough to win the whole thing.
Yeah. By the way, I know it's real fashionable among fan bases, among fans, to just hate a couple of quarterbacks at all times in the NFL. And I know Patrick is there now, but Catch, let's just have a grown-up conversation real quick. How freaking good is Patrick Mahomes? Like, when you watch him play and when you watch him pull some of that crap off, I know others want to just hate him for it. All I do is just try to bask in it because it's not going to last forever. And he'll do 2 or 3 things in every game I watch him play that I can't believe. He's incredible.
Aaron Rodgers at his peak had that going on as well, where, I mean, you just watch him and you go, I've just never seen anybody ever do this at the quarterback position before. So I think one of the great things that Mahomes has done is he's kind of rendered a lot of what Aaron Rodgers did is kind of useless because it's like, okay, yeah, you did all of that, but he did it and he continues to win Super Bowls and win at the highest levels.
Yeah. He's got 2 more rings, a back-to-back, and an extra trip to the Super Bowl where he didn't win the game, where all he did was lose to Tom Brady. Like,
that's his biggest sin right now is that one day, if there's ever who's the best quarterback of all time and he's in it, we're going to punish him for that one game.
Right. He was daft. He sucked enough to lose to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl at Tom Brady's home field at that moment. Like that's when he lost and where he lost.
Those are the standards by which we judge that dude though moving forward.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, this playoffs in the NFL, that the group of teams that just keep stepping up, oh man, talk about top heavy. There's a lot of good stuff up at the top. And Ketch, do you realize because of the seeding mistake the NFL continues to make, do you understand the stakes that may exist for Detroit and Minnesota coming up?
Yeah.
It's that 2-13 and let's see, what would it be? They're both 12-2 now. They both could be 13-2, right? They play 17 now. 13-3 or whatever the number would be. They'll have the same record theoretically last game. Winner gets the division. Winner gets the 1 seed and a bye. The loser would have to go on the road to probably the Atlanta Falcons. Like, they got to fix that problem at some point, but my God. And they're going to make that a Sunday night game probably. Those stakes are going to be incredible. I can't remember. I think it's in Detroit. Can't remember which place it's at, but that kind of stuff.
It's funny because, look, the NFL and college football are still such vastly different games.
Mm-hmm.
But, you're reminded in moments like that the NFL, when its regular season is at its peak, is elite of the elite football. It is, I still think one of the best games I probably ever saw was in a situation similar to that was when, obviously, the Emmitt Smith shoulder game, right? It's where the difference between winning that game and being the 1 seed versus losing it and being a wild card. It's just everything. It literally swung the balance of the season.
Well, and the thing is, when you let yourself get poisoned by the pageantry of college football, you say weird stuff like, I want the regular season to matter. And this year we had regular season games that mattered a little bit less. It's like, I get what you're saying, but there's also more regular season games that mattered. And if you're paying attention, there's still so much more to me that matters. And that's why it's better. That's why it's ultimately better. So, those games that you want to still matter, they're going to matter. They may change a little bit, but yeah, when you get stuff like this late in the NFL season for division titles, for especially now with only 1 bye and just all the stuff that's on tap, it still delivers. It still delivers after all these years. Catch, before we get out of here, we did get a little batch of super chats in while we were doing buy or sell. So here we go. $4.99 from Jose. After this weekend, y'all are glad Texas played in round 1. Also root for Georgia and Oregon so we can beat every conference champion to a natty. Wow. Jose ain't scared. Jose ain't scared at all. Glad they played in round 1. Jose, I'd have still wanted all that time off, but they look good. Get some rhythm and all that. They look good. I'd have still wanted the time off.
Ask me after we find out what's really going on with Cam Williams. Because that is potentially the real collateral damage from a round 1 win. Everything else feels like is going to be managed. It sounds like Jake Majors could have come back in. It sounds like Trey Wisner could have come back in. That they're at least saying publicly that, those players were available, and had they been needed, they could have been called on. We don't know. It's going to be really hard. It's a tough question to answer because it's hard to. It looks like right now they've got a better pathway to the semifinals than teams that are ranked ahead of them do. But we still don't know what it means to be asked to play 4 of these games in a row. And Chad mentioned it yesterday. We don't want to get to a point where the winner is just the team that stays the healthiest. But that may also be the reality of year 1 until teams have learned how to manage this kind of workload. Does feel like teams are dropping guys. It's happening in every game.
Yeah, because Catch, I get the idea that the path is easier through Clemson and Arizona State, but what if playing Clemson and Arizona State costs you that guy and that guy when you play Oregon or Ohio State? Yeah. That's what I'd worry about. Whereas Georgia, I know they won't have Beck, but Georgia may get about as healthy as they can over a 25-day stretch to where we'll see them play Notre Dame and go, oh, okay, all right, it was better to have that bye. Like you said, let's see it play out. But Jose, my gut would still say the 24 or 25 days, and I can get even healthier. I still would have wanted that. Thank you for that super chat. We've got some Christmas stuff coming. But first, Hooked on the Horns, $5 buy or sell. Hotter than. Taylor Swift is hotter than Dua Lipa.
That's a sell.
Buy or sell. I agree. That's a sell. That is a sell. It's a good battle. Good battle, Hooked. But it's a sell. All right, Catch. How about this one? $1.99 from our man ATX Bates. Merry Christmas, gents. Best present you've ever received.
I don't know.
Bates, it'll fit right in with my Aggie heritage. The best gift I've ever received was a surprise from my grandfather, and it was a riding, like a pedal tractor when I was, 8, 7, whatever it was. And I really did not think I was getting it, and he surprised me with it, and I rode the thing just till it fell apart. Till I felt like I couldn't ride it anymore. That's still the best present I've ever been given in my life. I don't know why. It just is. It always.
I would say a couple things, Chad. One, I remember circa 84 getting tickets for a house show for World Class Championship Wrestling.
Oh, holy crap.
So, the tickets were in the stocking, and it was like, I'm going to go see the Von Erichs and the Freebirds. Like, what else could have.
So you saw a World Class show at the Sportatorium?
No, this was in Waco.
Oh, in Waco. My bad. Okay. So a house show, a travel show in Waco. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Damn.
And it just felt like the biggest thing in the world.
That's awesome. I never saw. So you, as a Kerry Von Erich freak, got to see Kerry Von Erich live?
Oh, yeah. Several times.
That's awesome.
But always in Waco, never in Dallas.
There you go. Bates, thank you for that question. And Chris has a Christmas question.
And then real quick, Snake Mountain, when I was like a He-Man kid.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. I got a few of those toys I could go through, some Transformers and He-Man and stuff like that. But yeah, for some reason that tractor just stood out. I don't know why. I don't know what it was about it. It was awesome. Questions for both of y'all. Describe your Christmas Eve plans. Do you have any big Christmas Eve plans, Catch?
No, I got to go do some of this stuff as soon as we're off the air. It's like, come on, let's wrap it up because Catch has got to go be Santa.
Chris, every year on Christmas Eve, my girls take me out for my birthday, and then we watch Christmas Vacation. And if we can fit it in, The Grinch, and if we can fit it in, Frosty, because those are the ones we always watch. We got Rudolph out of the way, so we have to watch Christmas Vacation. That's my kid's thing. If we don't watch Clark and Cousin Eddie on Christmas Eve, she gets pissy. So we have to watch on Christmas Eve. That's our big thing. All right, there you have it. We appreciate everybody for their super chats. Just real quick, remind you about Deep Eddy Vodka and that tasting room out there. They are ready to go for you Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go ahead and double check the schedule, holiday time. But hey, right after Christmas, they'll be ready to go for you. Get on out there, have the great cocktails. The barbecue is excellent as well. If you got family and friends in town and you can't deal with them, with everybody clean and sober, well, get on out to Deep Eddy Vodka in the tasting room. Maybe you can handle Cousin Eddie out there with one of those beautiful cocktails. All right, Catch, that is all we have, sir. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the people before we get out of here for Christmas?
Bah!
Was that bah like bah humbug or bye like bye?
If you say it right, it covers everything.
It's just a bah. Ah. I'll respond to bah. That's like one of my main, that's like the alphabet.
I felt like that did everything there. It said everything to everybody.
There you go. Lots of bah. Okay, fair enough. Well, bah to everybody out there. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Again, no shows Tuesday, Wednesday. We will do an outsider show tonight. We'll do the Christmas outsider show tonight. What could go wrong? That'll be perfect. Chance Mock says he's drinking eggnog, so we'll be fine. No problem. 8:30 tonight, a What Are You Drinking Christmas edition of The Outsiders. No shows Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, a little modcast for you. Friday, a little prize picks for you as you head towards the weekend. So everybody have a great Christmas, and we will talk to you next Monday when we'll be getting ready for Texas and Arizona State. Scatter.